LinkedIn. Welcome to another Midweek Madness with me, Matt Comber. I hope you're all well. Thank you for tuning in or watching back on demand. We've got 4 questions this week to jump into. I've seen one of them ahead of time because there's quite a bit involved in it. And it's going to be the first kind of probably opening salvo to this topic that we'll see. I'm probably going to do more content around this topic. But let's jump in straight away. We have a lot to get through today. There's 4 questions, as I say, and there's quite a lot for us to get through. So, and this is the question I've seen. I'm interested in your views on the new changes that are coming in around AI in the UK and how they might impact my role as a marketer in recruitment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is kind of take rewind. We're going to take a step back and just set a bit of context for people that don't know. So the UK government, in February, I think it was, they put in or made a decision. And that decision was around how they are regulating AI and bringing in a kind of framework that they've said that they're going to put into place. Now, the EU have their own AI Act. We in the UK are not part of the EU anymore. And therefore, there is a what part are we going to adopt, which part are we not, similar to GDPR. I think to be similar to that. And there are crossovers between what is in that generally within the Act and what is in the UK DPA or UK GDPR. There are crossovers that exist between the two, I'd say. So that's just a bit of framework setting. There's like these 5 key areas that they look at, but basically what the governments have said then, and probably the new governments have said, is they're going to take this pro-innovation approach, which I think is positive. And it's going to be this principles-based regulatory framework, I think they refer to it as, that they're going to bring into place. So transparency, fairness, accountability are all key components of that. And it's from what I've read about it, it's quite flexible, but it is quite sector-specific approach. So the recruitment industry, which is talking a lot about how it's going to adopt AI, for maybe CV screening or candidate selection, whatever it might be, they're going to have to make sure that their systems are transparent, that they're non-discriminatory, and that they are in line with things like the Equalities Act and our Data Protection Act, UK GDPR. I think that's first and foremost. Disclaimer, I am not a solicitor. I had dreams of that one day. Went into computing instead. Barry Cullen is probably a man for this, and his team of wonderful people are probably people if you have legal questions on this for your business, because he's probably a go-to in this industry around it. And there are a lot of other really, really good solicitors that will probably give a very good view on this also. But what I will do is give my somewhat educated view after reading the Act a month or 2 back now, and try and then link that back into where I can see probably from a recruitment marketing standpoint where it'll impact this industry. So there's a couple of big impacts that I think it'll have, and you really need to start thinking about this not just for yourself but like with your technology vendor as well and how they've approached things. So the first one, let's talk about data protection and bias, because it's the big one that people are talking about right now. So recruitment firms are going to have to make sure that their AI systems don't perpetuate, that they don't enhance, they don't promote bias. So gender, race, age, discrimination, those kinds of things. The UK GDPR, if we couple the two things together, says that there are, or imposes, I would be the right word, it places restrictions on automated decision making. And it says that there should be human oversight and safeguards in place against unfair profiling, especially for things like critical decision-making processes. I'm going to come on to high risk, I think, in a minute. But talking about like those critical things around like hiring or promotions, maybe that'd be an end client thing, but that's kind of specifics around that. I think there's a real challenge that is going on at the moment where people are talking about AI like it is absolutely absolved of responsibility around Data Protection Act or GDPR. I'll call it GDPR. Like, I think people are talking about like it has nothing to do with that. The two will become intrinsically linked, and the Equality Act, like the whole thing will become linked together, right? And if we think right now, there's a lot of people talking about how their technology removes bias in systems. And I'll talk about this in a second. But I think that is going to be something that is going to be under a lot of scrutiny about how that actually works, and the reality behind that. Um, AI systems. So if you're a marketer and or like across your business, just in either marketing, like to attract people and convert them and put them through systems, let's give a real use case. Let's look at a common thing that gets said to me. So we get questions all the time. Can I stop people applying for jobs because of X criteria? I'm not going to go into the criteria because it's varied. But can I stop people applying for jobs based around different criteria? And that's a tough one for me to answer, because technically, yes, there are things that we can do to stop that happening. But legally and even just like morally, is that the right thing to happen? Is the top of the funnel the right place to reject people before a human has even assessed them or looked at them? I do sort of struggle with that a little bit. And I understand why people want to do it. I totally understand it. But that doesn't mean that it's right or legally compliant to do that. So if you are thinking about doing that, I would take legal advice on it and see what is achievable from that. From a legal standpoint, if you don't want to break the law on your own website, that's the last thing you want to do, right? Recruitment systems that rely heavily on AI, and there are going to be a lot of these now. They've got to be, with the new kind of framework that's coming in, they're going to have to be designed with data protection and privacy standards really baked into them. And it's quite clear that it says that they should avoid making decisions based solely on automated processes. That's how a lot of the tools that are in the market work right now. They are automated processes to remove the heavy lifting. And AI, as I say, is not going to absolve that whole legal framework that already exists around this. If anything, it could drop you deeper in the hole on it. If it's not transparent, I think that's going to be a problem. And that is probably my second point. Second point is about the transparency requirements that are going to exist in your hiring processes. AI tools that are going to be used in recruitment must clearly explain the decision-making processes. You all knew what I meant. This is a complex topic. My brain's leaking out my ear. You're going to have to explain that decision-making processes. So if AI is used to filter out candidates, for example, which it will be, like 100% will be used to do that, recruitment agencies are going to have to be able to demonstrate that's fair, and that there's an avoidance of bias that is baked into their algorithms, right? And this is where I struggle with what's on the market right now, with not all of it, but the vast majority. A lot of these systems that are being built now that are AI systems, they were built and their algorithms were set up and the technology was built before things like ChatGPT came out, or before like more of the kind of like Google or all these other systems like become popular since probably 21. A lot of them were built before that. And so now they're trying to like build in, like maybe retrofit stuff in to get it to work, or maybe there are just better systems that we're yet to see on that front that haven't been released yet. But if you, and here's a bit of background on me. So I used to work in financial services. Well, not with financial services directly, but building systems around payment systems and things like that, like PCI compliant payment systems. It's my dog in the background that you can hear. I used to work in that world, and I also worked around things like fraud prevention and some of that software. You learn something new about people every day. And one of the common things in that industry was building, one of the common known things was that the more data that you have on people, the more bias that you can bring in. Or the more data that you have on a topic, the more detection that you can make on it, right? So if we think about recruitment and we have these systems that are collecting more and more and more information about whatever that might be, right? So about people's gender or their race or whatever it might be, the more data that we have, the more bias we can naturally bake in. So a lot of these systems like, oh, we collect all this information and then we use it in our system. And believe me, governor, we are not biased in what we do. The problem with that is that inherently you become more biased the more data that you you can easily become more biased. And when you run an AI engine over it that you've not built, right, you're just baking into somebody else's system and then trying to manipulate it to be less biased, you've got really no control over how that system is truly working because you didn't build the language model, right? You might have trained some parts on your own language models and things like that. I appreciate that. But a lot of the systems that exist now, especially the kind of higher end AI systems, like just to connect into something like ChatGPT to kind of build your own model set on top of it, I think the entry price is $2.5 million or pound. Well, if they haven't done that, like if your vendor hasn't gone and paid that money, it's not their own model. They're trying to manipulate other models and maybe feed it and hope it lands, but it will still have the intrinsic LLM built into it. So the more data that we collect, the more bias we can potentially create in the system, right? That is true of fraud prevention, where it will look for, say, we do things like look for like the number of zeros that are used, because in fraudulent transactions, 0 gets used more than in real life. There's an example. That's something else for you to learn. So detection systems will start to look for that, right? Because they've been programmed to do that, programmed to look for fraudulent patterns. And with AI, that is only going to get probably faster. Don't know if it'll get better, but it'll get faster at detection. I think that the systems that are like trying to collect stuff and debias at the front end and saying like, oh, we've got this thing that is absolutely debiased, I really am skeptical about what that process looks like. And actually what this legislation is going to say, or this framework is going to say, is you're going to have to actually be visible to people about how that has worked. I think personally that the best AI systems for this in terms of like presentation, it needs to exist within CRM. I don't think it's a top of funnel product. I don't think where our website sits that we should be looking to bring an AI in to like accept or reject people from processes. Legally, I don't think we should be doing that anyway. I think people have just missed that whole thing. I think there is real risk there with that. And then we need to consider like how that then downstreams through our technology, through our CRM systems. I think presenting stuff back to end clients about what you have collected after application processes, or once the job is closed potentially, then trying to rerun it and say, this is the whole diversity portfolio of people that we collected. And then maybe trying to revise your processes after that. That's a shout. But I think just dropping it in at the top of the funnel and saying, we've debiased everything because our opinion says it so, inherently in technology, it does not work like that. It really doesn't. And I don't really have much more to say on that one, but I think that people are just glancing over things and buying products here because they're shiny, not because they're compliant. And that leads me into probably my third thought point, and I've gone on a lot here, but the third thought point is on risk management and I mentioned this, what we class as high risk. Recruitment is going to be a high risk AI implementation because it deals with people's employment status. That's quite high risk. So the compliance and the kind of strictness, if you like, of the compliance that's going to be in is going to be far higher. And that is probably going to include like documentation around your processes, the system's usage, and then conducting things like risk assessments around the technology that you use. And your vendors are probably going to have to do the same to adhere here as well. So getting a copy of any of that type of stuff is going to be really important. And also, it won't apply too much in the recruitment sector now, but anything where it's like monitoring people's performance in this industry, this is probably more strictly about the recruitment industry. But yeah, that type of stuff, will be something that is really kind of strictly looked at as well, but not doing it because there's a view that it would be quite intrusive to do that. There was a video, wasn't there, a while back about a coffee shop where they'd used AI to detect whether people were working enough, and it just got binned. It was just like, no, thanks. This is not what we want. So yeah, I think that's going to be an important thing also to think about. So there's going to be a lot in this. As I say, so right at the start, I'll probably do another couple of pieces around this, and maybe just a couple of individual videos with specific call outs, and show the legislation maybe on one side and some examples on another. Hopefully that will be useful for people. Okay. Second question. My current vendor's roadmap has only really grown via acquisition. They tell me that they're buying marketing leading products. These products don't deal with the challenges I have. What should I do? Well, I've worked in one of these environments, so I can definitely talk about this with some authority. But actually, I'm going to take a different tact than people who might not like me might think when they read this. Firstly, you've got to clarify what you're actually looking for. So it says here, they don't deal with the challenges I have. Okay, so go and clarify that. Look at defining it. Document gaps between what you currently have and where you want to be. Like that gap analysis is really important. If it's like, and then from there, you'll probably figure out what the challenge will be. Is it a scalability? Is it an integration? Is it specific features or functionalities that you're missing out on? Is it support? Or like human contact, whatever it might be, clarify what you're actually looking for. And that is going to help you in any discussions back with your original vendor. I think there's a real kind of like, I should go to the test the market because I don't like this approach. And I don't think that that's the best approach. I think you should always speak to your existing vendor and get a real view of what their approach is going to be, right? Because it says here they're buying really good products. So got to kind of trust them on that. They might not be. They might be really bad products. They might be getting them on the cheap. And they might be trying to tell you that they're the best thing in the world to make more money. That is also true. But you need to know where your viewpoint is first before you move on. Then go and speak to them. And I think you've got to explain like your dissatisfaction with people, right? Like, we're just not happy. Like, you're buying all this stuff, but none of it's actually helping the real challenges that I have from the products maybe that I've already got from you. And what do I do with that? Like, where do I go? Because it looks like you're not putting any money and time into this, whereas you're just putting it all into buying these other things. What kind of, I'm like a 0 to 1 person, probably. My view is that if people can put millions and millions of pounds into these companies to buy, why aren't they investing millions and millions of pounds in their existing products and then making the most of them? That is a view that I have. That is probably just a general business view. But I think if you're spending, if you make an acquisition after acquisition after acquisition, but your core product is not advancing at the same pace, for me, that kind of doesn't feel cool. Don't think it feels great. You know, I don't think that feels great unless there is a cutoff point where they say, right, we have everything we need, and now we're not buying anything else. And this year we're going to invest £58 million in this product suite that we have, and we're going to take it to this next level. That's cool. That's interesting to me. But as it stands at the moment, I'm not seeing any of that. Just because something's market leading doesn't mean it will solve your problems as well. Also, I don't really know what market leading is. I have no idea what that means. Everyone says we're market leaders. I don't think that that's the case. You're one competitor away from crumbling at any moment in time. I would ask them for the roadmap that includes developments that directly address the challenges and the needs that we had in the first question. Go and ask them what that looks like. And then maybe ask them if they can prioritize certain features of their product pipeline that might enhance your experience. If they can't be clear about where they're going and the general direction of travel, if they can't give you a list of all of the updates and advancements that they've made, maybe dated, then they're not really updating that. It's not really software development. They're probably bug fixing, not product and feature releasing. And I think that's a problem. And it should be their roadmap. Like, show me where your developers have built onto the technology that has advanced it for me, not where you've brought something else in or you're using a third-party platform. Show me your roadmap, because you want to work with vendors, I think, personally, that are in control of their tech debt, over their tech systems and that they operate. If they're not, if there's no features that are what you're looking for in the roadmap, ask them if they can do some custom development. Hey, you haven't got this, it's not on your roadmap, but we want this custom adjustment to the core platform here. Like, how much would we pay for this? What would it look like? What are our timelines? I think that's a cool thing to be able to do. If they can't do that, that shows that they probably don't have the resource to be able to do that. Or that they aren't really putting the time and effort into that they said they would. They should at least entertain a conversation about where it might fit on a roadmap and why it might be a bad idea in some cases. Like, we get this, people say, hey, I wanted to do this. And I'm like, I don't think you do want it to do that. I think that would break this, this, and this. And they go, oh, yeah, okay, let's not do that. And I'll say, yeah, but we are going to do this because I think this will open up these doors. I think that's a key thing to consider as well. If you're getting brick walled at all of this, like the roadmap hasn't advanced, there's no big updates been made, they don't respond, or they just keep buying and it's not all fitting together, right? you're not beholden. There was a thing, wasn't there, a while back? There was a CRM that talked about like Frankensteining your products together, but now is part of a stack of a number of different products that have come together. You got to kind of consider like what you're looking for. I don't think Frankenstein's a negative connotation, really. I think if you've got a platform that has a lot of integrations, I've always said this entire industry runs on having best in class everywhere and then integrating it all together. That's how we grew Volcanic. That's how SourceFlow is growing. So a lot of the best businesses have grown in this market with that approach. So, it could be that just because something gets bought doesn't mean there's not a better option out there. And that's when you're going to go evaluate, right? If you're not getting the feedback, go and evaluate the alternatives that are out there, right? No one's got a gun to your head. Go and speak to a bunch of different people about this. Go and find out what their views are, and then start to see whether it stacks up against what your current vendor is saying. And if you actually realize, I've gone to these other 3 companies, and one of them in particular is saying that that's not the way of doing it, and they can do it this way, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Go and work with them, right? Go and buy from them. Get it integrated. Make sure it does what it does. It's not rocket science, right? I think that's a good way of doing things from that approach. How can we use website data analytics to drive more deals, right? Let's just say this is a B2B question. Okay, so firstly, you're going to have a lot of data that obviously you're collecting in any business. So things like personalization and segmentation come to mind straight away, where using the data in your CRM to personalize messages, maybe, and I think I've spoken about this a bunch of times, but like beyond name and things like that, right? User experience, that kind of stuff, job preferences, those types of things. Using it to kind of personalize communication that way is cool. So definitely can do it that way. On a B2B level, it's exactly the same, right? If people have downloaded certain types of content, or they've engaged the brand, or they've sent certain types of job requirements through to you guys, actually then personalizing the content back to existing accounts to drive further opportunities is going to be key. I think in a tough market, that's particularly cool because you firstly know that they've bought from you in the past. There might be an opportunity again. It's good to keep front of mind, talking about things that you're working with, people you're working with, content that you've got out there. If they're on maybe a bit of a hold with hiring, you can be sure that if they've been getting really high quality content, the minute they come back to market, they'll be coming to you guys. That is marketing 101 and in action. And then what you're going to be able to do once you've kind of done that is then segment the messaging. So based around interests or skills, or again, what they've downloaded. So you're going to kind of dynamically personalize your workflows and then segment that out. So I think that's the first thing that we can do to win more deals, keep in front of mind in there. It's such a technical question, right? Well, how can we use website data analytics? Website data analytics is quite a technical term. For me, I would then look at where we could bring the human element of this back in, right? So where can we bring human touch points back into our process that make that a better experience, right? I'm all for human touch points on things. Automated follow-ups are cool, and all this other stuff is great. But for me, nothing beats having a check-in and a video call or a face-to-face or a phone call in the process, or quick personalized video content from the recruiter throughout that process, right? I've just screened these 4 people, Mr. Customer. I'm really excited to get these back to you. I'm interested to get your views on these. I'm going to bring it up on the screen straight away and show you this. That beats an email with here's 4 CVs on it every day of the week, right? So actually using the data to actually bring in personalized stuff is probably cool. Like voice, video messages are a really nice way of kind of augmenting stuff for me. On the topic of I think I might have spoken about this before, but on the topic of humanizing things, I don't know if humanizing is a word, but on top of that, let's have a look at how we can make the tone of what all the stuff, right? If we're automating stuff and we're using analytics to then drive automation, let's just make it a bit more human. Maybe get a copywriter in to look at the content that you're putting out. I'm a big advocate of this. Go and get somebody who writes for a living to write the content around your automations that you're going to send out and make it appear more human. There's nothing wrong with that. Get some storytelling in there, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're taking people on a story when we sell things. A lot of the best sales processes I've ever been involved in, it's been a story. Hey, this is where you are. I know a lot of other people that were in that position too. And then we decided to do this, and this is what it's meant for them. I've looked at your situation, and this is what it can mean for you too. And if we brought this in, this is what the future might look like. And all of a sudden, you're way away from where you started here. that's a storytell, kind of a gap selling kind of concept. I would really consider that. I don't think it gets looked at anywhere near enough, that type of concept. Um, and again, I spoke about this. We're not looking to like remove people through the data analytics that we've got here in our system, right? We're not trying to get rid of people at all. Website data analytics, what we're trying to do is say, like, where did people land on our websites? Where did they convert? All these types of things are really, really crucial to then being able to be more human in our approach back to people, right? So website data analytics, couple of key points on this. Can we use our website data analytics to change the funnels in terms of how people get to our content? Yes, absolutely. That makes it quicker. We then get them into a system, we phone them. Amazing. Can we use website data analytics to look at where things aren't working and start to split test and A/B test and multivariate? Yes, we absolutely should do that. Should we be looking at it in terms of how we drive, how we learn more about the people that we're trying to convert? 100%, we should be looking to do that as well. We've got a lot of data here. Can we just enhance the entire user experience of our website based around the data that we've got back, changing different funnels, changing different routes, removing pages, right? Don't feel like you have to have pages on a website. You know, you don't have to. You have to have some pages. Don't feel like you have to have a certain page. If no one ever visits it and it's just wasting crawl depth from Google and things like that, just get rid of it, right? Park it and see if that makes any difference. I think personally, the best websites are just really clean, concise, A to B type approaches where people click through to the pages they find what they want, or they enter on the page they want, and then we optimize the journey. I think we talked about this, like search entry optimization, where people come from a specific source, like email, and we use analytics then to drive better conversions by making that a more enhanced process. We can use data analytics for all those types of things, and I think that's a really cool way of doing this, and to get it in there. So yeah, I would highly recommend that we do that. Finally, this is great. How can old school, I think I'm old school, how can old school marketing techniques help a recruitment agency stand out? Direct mail, question mark? Okay, love it. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for this kind of stuff. I love it. I speak to our sales team about this all the time. Direct mail for personalized engagement is cool, right? I love it. Okay, I know it's got more difficult with people working from home and you don't want to be sending people mail to people's houses, but not everyone works from home. You still people go in the office and that kind of stuff, right? It's a great way to cut through the noise of digital. We get, 100 what was Adam from 424 saying, upwards of 80 to 100 emails a day that people receive. How many letters do we get through the post every day? 1, 2, handful. So I think like a well-designed, personalized letter or brochure does have a powerful effect on people. And it feels more deliberate and more thought out, I think, than email. I think having a physical presence in front of people helps the credibility and trust of your business, especially if you're starting out. That's a really good way of getting in front of people. I know there's a cost for it, but there's a cool, like that physical presence maybe goes above and beyond what all the other startups are doing. So sending targeted messages to things like HR departments is a really cool way of doing things. Or if you've got high value candidates, sending personalized job offers to them ahead of when they're going to be released could be awesome. Hey, we're going to be working on a retained basis with this customer. We think that you're going to be perfect for it. That job's going to be released on the 26th of September. That kind of stuff could be cool, right? And I'm not saying that's exactly what you should do, but I think it helps. It makes you harder to ignore. And we're in this kind of like, the currency is attention, isn't it, these days? Like, that's what we're battling with. So that could be cool. What other old school stuff? Well, I'm a sucker for events, niche for my American audience, and networking. So in-person events are brilliant. I love the smaller ones. I don't love massive events. I've moved away from that. Like these general industry events, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's very overwhelming, and I don't think you can ever get a serious set of conversations going. I think it's really difficult to do that. But small in-person events, like a dinner with 10, 15, 20 people, that's cool. Maybe an event at a sporting event or something like that. That's kind of cool. Where you can kind of get a bunch of people together, hosting them around a topic, getting some expert speakers in. That's cool. for me. And then running like a networking thing. I think what you've got to do is, if you're running a good event, is like really break the ice and get people talking. The UK is terrible for this, right? The US is so far ahead. People just don't like talking. They go see the speakers and go home. It's like, well, maybe we could have like got us a bit of a speed date thing going on where people have to speak to each other and and have that conversation. That's a cool way for us to drive networking. That's kind of old school, right? Like speaking to people nowadays. So yeah, let's think about that. What else can we do? Old school print, trade magazines, that type of stuff. Again, this comes down to knowing your buyer. That not everyone's still online, right? Like everyone is online, right? But they look at other areas, and if there was like a trade area, or there's lots of recruitment magazines, there will be HR magazines, things like that. Actually getting print ads and editorials and those kinds of things in those magazines, if that's where your decision makers are looking at and that's where they're going, then again, that could be a really cool way of actually getting in front of them. And again, it's that like constant it's that constant visibility of your brand. And I was thinking, came into my head, if you were in like healthcare and there was like British medical kind of stuff, where I know people do read in that sector, actually having your brand in there as the number one placer of doctors in London or something, that could be awesome way of kind of just further advancing your brand awareness into those areas. So I think that's kind of cool. I want to say phone calls. Is phone calls old school? I don't think it's super old school, but picking up the phone, phone call follow-ups, that kind of stuff. Thanks for applying on our website. I saw that you came through here. It's awesome. Just going to quickly run a quick screen if that's good with you. It just goes a bit further, right, than just helping you stand out, than just like an automated email back to the first question we were talking about today. I think that's kind of cool. Personalized stuff, I love, if it's the right thing at the right time. I've got somebody chasing me right now at the moment, and I do appreciate it. I read all the stuff. I'm just busy. Where their whole USP is that they send personalized, very unique, quirky stuff to your prospects to open the door. Love it. I think it's a great idea, right? I'm not against it. There was somebody who was sending silver pigs out recently. I never received it, but I knew it was sent. We have bad mail problems. There was somebody sent like a wooden hand, I think, at some point out. All these kind of things, just weird, cool, wonderful things, but they're there to just garner a bit more attention than an email or a phone call might be. So yeah, that's a key thing really for me. Get that type of stuff. One thing that I was just coming, I don't know why this is coming in my head. I don't know why it's coming in my head, but imagine like postcards around or something like that for job openings. So, wish you were here kind of things, or like that kind of stuff could be cool to a candidate database or to clients, like some kind of like quirky play on that type of stuff where we're sending them something just very different. Like that postcard could be cool. You send it to your database of candidates that you think are segmented perfectly for what you're looking for, and it stands out. Hey, wish you moved jobs. Open it, like visit this QR code now. That kind of stuff. That could be really cool to get that kind of stuff out as well. People might not check their emails and things like that frequently, but if a postcard comes through the post and it says, "Hey Matt, we're hiring for this role. Click this QR code. You're on a panel of 30 people that we've sent this to. If you wish you were moving jobs, then let us know." That could be cool, right? That could be very different than what we see. So I think those old school techniques might really help. And hopefully you found that interesting. That is the final question I got today. It's the longest one I've done of these, and hopefully I haven't just blabbed too much. But there was quite a bit in the first one around AI, and yeah, then hopefully the questions I didn't rush through too much. If you have got any questions and you want to send them through to me, fire them over on LinkedIn. I can't wait to see the questions I get this week. I really do enjoy doing this. I don't care if one person or no people look at this. I enjoy doing it. We've got a lot of content here. We'll be answering hundreds and hundreds of questions every year from this, the legitimate questions that get sent in. So without further ado, I'm going to call that for today. Again, if you've got any questions, send them through to me. If not, have a great week. Stay safe. And until next time, see you soon, LinkedIn.